Hey, good morning, everybody. Before we get to the day to day, what's happening now? Then we take a look at the monthly chart since we're starting a new month coming into August. I think it's going to be maybe a real summer doldrums kind of thing. Well, we'll see. I think basically trading range. A lot of things look pretty good from the monthly charts. A lot of these doing nothing, but I thought we'd take a peek at the ones that have been leading, like communications. That was obviously the worst, the worst of the worst back there in 2002 as it went down and down and finally made the turn, right? Look to the left and coming right into that little support area. Now at the top of this reversal bar, it's coming up into there. Consumer discretionary, that's done well this year. It's coming into the top of this topping tail bar, but nice prior month's chart there or bar. Things have stalled. Here we got Europe just up and down, top of the range, France top of the range, Germany underperformer. This is Europe hedged by the dollar, so it's done better. The dollar's been coming up the last few days, and now interest rates. I think that's kind of a fly in the ointment for the bull case. But, looking at others, Japan, that did okay this year, and Euro stock, Taiwan coming up near prior reversal, and a lot of things did nothing. Maybe they'll bring up the rear healthcare. Consumer staples been doing nothing for 2 years. Energy, which was the big performer back here, 2002, it was the only one that went up. It's been doing nothing. It's kind of turning around. So there's been a lot of running in place, and there's been a few things that have done well. The S&Ps, they look like eventually they can get up to the top of the range there. It doesn't mean it's going to happen now. But just thought we'd take a peek and see what was happening here. It's the beginning of a month, and no, there's no audio. Somebody type that. It's okay now. All right, cool. All right. So let's see what's happening here this morning. So yesterday was like, geez, could it have gotten any slower? Well, Friday was what it was, but it gapped up. And then yesterday, now we got these two ranges going back and forth, doing nothing there. And now, gapping down to the bottom of that little range, will it break? Well, I guess we'll see. But the next reference point is right there. So again, let me just go here. You can see where my cursor is on the hourly chart. And so coming down, Friday's low there, will it break it and send it down toward this more significant support area? So the top and the bottom of this big gap reversal day, which I mentioned yesterday, is basically, can it break out above? Will it break down below? And it's just in a trading range where, here's part of the range, and now it's, for the moment, continuing on this side. And the longer it goes sideways here, you're kind of like winding the spring. We use that analogy sometimes. Things get tighter and go nowhere for an extended period of time, and eventually you get some kind of a snap. And you can see we're up against 460 there, and the weekly chart, the momentum begins slowing but crawling its way up into that area. This is just the beginning of the week, and while things are down here a bit this morning, it's basically nothingness. So individual stocks, some of them are moving, but again, a lot of things just doing a lot of nothing. It happens. Futures just chopping here in an uptrend, but if it should break down below here, it now leaves all of this overhead supply resistance, because in an uptrend going sideways, it tells us that buyers are still confident. When you see a topping tail not follow through lower and it flips back up, that means they're willing to buy little minor dips. It also means that maybe they're a little too confident, complacent, but ultimately it's got to break down. And right now it's doing nothing. Coming down to the bottom of these pivot lows on the hourly, little, peak underneath it. It does have a void below. The wide range bar, momentum move in a smaller time frame. So there is the potential to, to drop a bit if it starts to pick up some steam, but, drop to where? It still wouldn't change the higher time frame unless it was to close, right? If you got a close down there today and you got another wide red bar, that would lead us to believe the combination of topping tail, then it would be a green bar ignored and a big bar. We'd have more of a bias that might go lower, in the latter part of the week. And then, of course, there's more economic news and there's big earnings reports. So doldrums, choppy price action for the markets, right? SPX, interesting, things are tightening up and the levels are at the top and the bottom of this range. And so if things pick up to the downside a bit, maybe you can get below here. I've got alert below the bottom of the range, but this is where there's premium right now. Above and below here. And as we looked at, the open is going to, so far, still 20 minutes to go to the open. It's right over here. So as things start to eventually move, these levels where you can sell 0 DTE will get further away from current prices. And it's just been kind of tight lately because things are tight. When things start to move rapidly, traders start to buy and sell options that are further away from current prices. And that's what's attractive by that when it's this tight. Like how easy could it be to hit this 46.05? Well, relatively easy if something was to snap it back there and, to get down to here today, relatively easy. So you got to be a little careful. The Q's down, whatever there, how many points. It's just nothing happening. And just started to roll over here. Got a wide range bar, kind of looking at the hourly chart. Might be a 1, 2, 3 setting up or a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got a void below. So that right there for a day trade bias, Qs and Qs, they got room to fall. The way this came down, you can see here on the 5-minute came down real hard and staying in the lower half. So potentially coming down into this bar here, where would they begin to buy? Let's look to the left and see, is there anything there? And so going here, there really isn't much of anything. So, I guess traders using trader pivot lines, or I don't know, start getting out your fib lines or whatever. But I guess right down here where these pivot lows are more clustered together, and you can see these overlapping bars could be a downside target area. Something like that, maybe getting down there. Turn it green. Russell, we know, is at the top of the range. Momentum is stalling. So weekly, been up here. This is the third time, but momentum stalling, coming up. If this was to get negated in the coming days, I think we'd be pretty confident that things would correct a bit more within this uptrend here and sideways here. So when we see a sideways trend on a higher time frame, this is still in an uptrend. We're looking for a pattern that could confirm our bias that things could turn lower here. And we don't have that yet. And a time that requires a lot of patience waiting for things to set up. And if we were to get some nasty down bar like that, then, with a pattern like that, not particularly for the Russell, but it could be, call spreads where we start to see topping patterns on this time frame confirm what sideways in a higher time frame, no matter what it is, would make sense that it's not going to go back up above the range, and a call spread would make sense. The Dow is up against these pivots here, just going sideways, doing nothing, waiting to see which way things might break. So, as the market goes, pretty boring. Nothing much happening, So, now, whereas there's some kind of action. Last week, this is what created that big red bar in the equities, and the 10-year is starting to push up, and right now it's up a little bit above that big red bar. It's in a trading range up here, and this is really what could, I think, maybe create some real downside action if the 10-year was to break above this range. And as I mentioned early in the week or last week, the interest rates going up and the dollar going up is what caused, in part of 2022. Now, this has got these converging moving averages there, but they might be able to go through. Let's see where it is here. Actually, it is through it. Look at this little bar. We don't get much data there, but look at that gap up above the 200 MA. Next resistance isn't that far, but you look at the Euro futures, they're kind of bouncing a little. They're coming down to the 50. Ultimately, they might get down into here, but they gave back this whole bullish run, which you can see is a wide range bar on the weekly time frame. And this is starting to roll but down again, probably toward the 50 MA. There was a breakout failure. And so that strength in the dollar, look at the nasty reversal turning the silver, that green bar. Not that it was a clean kind of a pattern, but right back down again. You think the euro will get it all back soon? I don't know. There's no pattern there to support that. Gold flipped right back down again. And crude oil coming up to the top of the range, so I would expect that to stall up there. If you can consolidate eventually, if it gets through here, which will be waiting to see if that happens. So send an alert there. If you look at USO, it's pretty much the same. It's at the top of the range, and you can see it's backing off a little bit here this morning, and so gap up there, and it looks like it's going to gap down underneath it. So this is why we say look to the left. Where it fell from before, and it runs up there like that, there's going to be sellers there. Our transports, let's take a look. They have been doing great. They're stalling. I don't think this even shows much data. The ETF. Really not much going on here either. So you have to look for individual stocks that are moving, because the markets, sure, unless something gets them shaken up, it doesn't look like much is going to happen there. Until maybe some of the news comes out or these earnings reports, and maybe things will start moving. So that's it. Take a look, Dan, what you got going.
Good morning. Yep, absolutely correct. And looking at individual stocks, which we always do, never have a problem finding compelling setups. Raul asking about AHCO. To buy setup, sure. Yeah, to buy setup, 3-bar turn at the 20. Put it on the list. Yeah, the computer, because I'm in the middle of earnings stocks right here. All right, ANET here. No screen, thanks. There we go. And here's the AHCO I was just talking about. Nice buy setup here. Igniting bar here from a bottoming pattern. Well, from a downtrend, actually. All right, earnings, ANET. So Greg, this was one of my finals yesterday. I'm like, I wanted to sell the 135s. That would have paid off handsomely, but that is a monster gap back to the highs. Impressive, but nothing to do with it. RSG, I see one print up there at 153. Today's Tuesday. If it can get over Friday's high, then it's a sloppy buy setup. Put spread idea. Well, you know, I don't trust pre-market unless it's liquid, so I'm just gonna move on. Don't see anything. FANG down a little bit, but extended 145. You know, with oil top, and it could be a call spread, 30-minute low. ES, no pattern. I'm just going to delete you. MPWR 518. 30-minute low, call spread, possible day trade short. YUMC, 60 bucks. Gapping right here to the gap fill. That's a potential put spread if it can bounce. SPX. I don't see any prints, but that's bearish. Daily, weekly, monthly. I'm going to set an alarm at 220 because if it says it's gapping to 228, and so if it gives up that strength, then that's going to be another little upside shakeout. Whole X 77. You know, gapping. It's a bearish gap, but we don't short top of the range to the bottom of the range. Berman, kind of a little cup and handle here after a climb. We'll come back to it. WDC, 42 bucks. It's actually bullish daily, weekly, monthly. So I'll come back to this. PD Duck asking about Uber. Yeah, we actually we sold puts on that yesterday into the close. I'm sorry, into earnings. So we've been doing a lot of these earnings trades. So I'm assuming it was earnings this morning, right? So we had the $44 puts. Yeah, earnings this morning. All right, so I'm going to be looking to take our profits on that. Let me put Uber over here to keep an eye on it. But it's giving up the morning strength, which is, you know, kind of a red flag. So let's see what it does here. Maybe 30-minute high if you're looking for a new trade. So that was one of our earnings trades. We did, well, we'll get to LSCC 89 and change. We'll come back to you. No prints, no pattern. Zulu India getting whacked. Now I'm gonna put this on my list for the possible excessive gap setup. And what I mean by that is that's a big old gap. And let's just see if buyers want to step up. Let me put Zulu India on the chart. Bob. Someone was asking long. That is a beautiful day and 3/4 end of day base with a red bar ignored breakout yesterday. I mean, what concerns me a little, looks like a wide range ending on the weekly, but for a day trade, yeah. You know, we want to, as always, keep an eye on what the broader markets are doing. RRX, Greg, this was another one. I was wanting to sell the 135s. That would have worked well. Car, I personally did the 180s, 175s. And it's opening down a couple pennies. So that is perfect for selling options in the earnings. So I already got a bid out for 2 cents at the open. THC, $78, big gap, no pattern, tracks. There you go. There you go. That's a 30-minute high trade, or watch it on a pullback. I'm going to put that in a window. WWD, I don't see any prints, but it shows it up a lot. Amcur down a little, could be a call spread idea. BRX, no pattern, although it's a bear 1, 2, 3. So I can't tell where it's opening, but if it takes out these lows, bear 1, 2, 3. That's percentage wise a big old gap. DV will come back. Rambus, that's a percentage big gap. That is an ugly gap breakdown with a void. That's an ugly gap. Rig gapping down on earnings. So I like this if it recovers, but oil's toppy. So that's the fly in the ointment there. Sun, can't tell where it's opening, but if it gaps above yesterday's high, then it's a red bar ignored gap breakout. I'll set an alarm 59.25. Okay, so there. Where was it? I'm gapping down here, no pattern. Krug, come back, no pattern. Bottoming pattern, VNOM. I see a gap in here a little bit. So you can set an alarm 27.25. But no, it's too extended. Now, if it were gapping bigger, let's say to 25, $26, then that would be a great gap and crap candidate. No pattern. Leg has been leg Mason relative weakness to the broker dealers. 30-minute low. That's a short idea. Wow. Look at you had this breakout, this breakout, this breakout, this breakout. That is incredible strength. This one's gapping down. So is anything that rallies into earnings like this, regardless of where it opens, I just have a bearish bias as a general rule. So that's a short-term top. AC gapping up to 21. I don't like the overlapping bars, a little bit light volume. CRC also, look, I see one print at 52. So that's a 30-minute low short. Same. I mean, there's a lot of things ripped into earnings. Merck, remember I said yesterday in the green room, this is tradable either way. It's either a double bottom, new low plus, or it would be a continuation in a downtrend. Now it's 109.80. Gap's too big for me though. But on a pullback, that's a definite foot spread. Competitor Pfizer still weak. Cat spinning bees gapping up. BP. This was one I said yesterday, I think. If it opened flat, looks higher. The 30-minute high idea, but it's an ADR, which I personally don't like. All right, Uber flat, Mo, no pattern, relatively flat, ETN. Now there's a buy setup at the 20, gap in a 210. Let's watch that on a controlled pullback. ITW, this was one we were short, I think at 245 naked puts, and it ripped into the close, and we closed our puts with like 70% max profit. So that was a good decision. MPC, anything that rallies into you know, I'm looking to sell in the strength and look for a counter trend move. All right, got a couple alarms going off. All right, ECL, I don't see the open. 90XX down. That's a call spread candidate. That's a short-term top now. All right, I see our SWK naked puts moving up. I have an alarm on, so IQV is gapping down. I have an alarm on G. We're short that. That was a nice 1, 2, 3. All right, Uber. Let's just move stop 5-minute low. Take our money. See where the quotes are here on SWK. And I'm in this car, but it's